This is the Deron Harris Podcast. Here's your host, Deron Harris.
Hey, y'all, what's good? Welcome back to the program, man. I'm Deron Harris, and this is the Deron Harris Podcast. How you feeling? How is everybody this week? I hope that everybody is doing good. I'm doing pretty good myself. I was doing good until I looked at this list of billionaires in our country. Not just in our country, but all over the world globally. Now, this podcast today, this podcast is for all of you entrepreneurs, all the hustlers out there, all the money-minded people, all the people out there making their money, the breadwinners, you know what I'm saying? The ones that are focused, the ones that's dedicated, you know what I mean? You know, the ones that ain't got no other option. This is for y'all, man. You know what I'm saying? The ones that's out there trying to crush every aspect of the game they playing. This podcast today, this one is for y'all. Okay? This is going to be hopefully, you know, something that might inspire some of y'all. You know what I'm saying? I know that it inspired me. Like after, you know, looking at this list that I found, I know that it inspired me. And I'm trying to do the same thing for everybody. I'm trying to recreate that feeling, the feeling that I got, the feeling of not hopelessness, but hopefulness. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to recreate that feeling for so many other Black Americans. All right, it's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? It's a really big deal because let me hit y'all with a number. Okay? Let me give y'all a quick fast number. This and actually it might surprise you. I'll put it. How many billionaires do you think there are on planet Earth? How many? Take a wild guess. Just a wild guess. I know I can't fucking hear you, but just take a wild guess anyway. I'm going to tell you the motherfucking answer anyway. There is about 3,000 billionaires on the face of the earth. Think about it. You know what I mean? And you can name some of them. You can name some pretty prominent billionaires, can't you? They're out there. You know, and there's, like I said, about 3,000 billionaires. But listen to this. How many of them do you think are Black? How many Black billionaires do you think there are? And I've like when I didn't it really a couple of times it crossed my mind. You know what I mean? How many billionaires? A couple of times it crossed my mind how many Black billionaires, but not too frequently. I didn't think about it, not until recently. You know what I mean? Because people throw the B word around a lot. You know, it's a billionaire because it used to be a million. Everybody, oh, it had a million this and a million that, and that was great. Oh, you're a millionaire. You know, but now, you know, a million being, if you got $1 million, that's like chump change. That's like takeout money. You know what I'm saying? I got $3 million, that's like takeout money. It's like the billionaire. That's what's happening these days. So to answer your question, there are only there's 3,000 billionaires on Earth, and about 23 of them are Black. Okay? So that's what I'm going to be talking about today on the program, which is Black billionaires. This doggone plane. I'm by. If you hear these planes, man, I promise you, I'm right by this commuter airport. It's ridiculous. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today is Black billionaires. But before I get to that, I'm going to I want to shout out to anybody who may be going through something mentally, and I just want to let you know that there are people out there that are definitely ready to help you get through whatever crisis you may be going through. Okay, I'm a huge advocate for people going out and seeking, you know, help for anything they may be going through mentally, because it is a real thing and it really does matter, and you are not alone. I suffer myself. I suffer from major depressive disorder, and I just want everybody to know that there are people that are out there and they're willing to help you. Okay? There's some great people out there, so don't deprive yourself. Go talk to somebody. There are resources out there. If you don't have much money, there are plenty of resources out there that will help you get on track. So, again, don't deny yourself that, that gift, as I like to call it. So, all right, I'm going to take a quick, fast break, and when I come back, we're going to get into the black billionaire business, all right?
Now, back to the Deron Harris Podcast. Here's your host, Deron Harris.
Hey, y'all, welcome back. Talk about black billionaires today and what they've done, what they've built, and what we can all learn from that. So, like I was saying, there are about 3,000 billionaires. 26 and 26 of those 3,000 billionaires are black. Okay, now, according to the global billionaire ranking, and this is published by Forbes. All right, this information comes from Forbes magazine. Those 23 individuals together, they control roughly about $96 billion in wealth across industries like technology and telecommunications, entertainment, mining, sports, and finance. So we do good in these sectors. All right, we've built. As I read in Forbes, we have amassed a lot, but we only have all those 26 billionaires. They have $96 billion. Elon Musk has $400 billion. Okay, to put it into perspective, and I'm not, putting these brothers down, but what if you understand what I'm saying. What I'm really saying is more of us need to get on the bandwagon, apply ourselves, towards, like I said, if you got this hustler mentality, this entrepreneurial mentality, now is the time to start flexing those muscles. Now is the time to strengthen the resolve and let's dig at it. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is you do, it's time for us to reach that status or push that narrative more, the black billionaire narrative. And I know there are a lot of us that are quite close. You know what I'm saying? So now think about that. Now, out of that, thousands of billionaires in the world, less than 1% of us are billionaires. Less than 1% of billionaires are black people. But here is the powerful part. Every single one of those people, they built something massive, okay? Massive. Companies, they built industry, different kind of brands, they built infrastructure. And to me, infrastructure is one of those things for me. Infrastructure is huge. Development. I'm really intrigued by development, because development, you have an opportunity to help people, while making some money, a lot of it, while you're at it, depending on your motivation. Now, I know there's a lot of people who their motivation, you can tell by the product that they put out, that their motivation is strictly to make money. It's strictly to make money, not to help people, but just to make money. And unfortunately, it goes like that a lot. There's a lot of people out there that put a Band-Aid on stuff on their little piece of real estate just to rent it out so they can get that, that $2,500 or $3,000 a month rent, while providing the absolute, least they can in services for, said tenant. And there's plenty of bad business practice, but you don't have to be those people, right? You can be somebody who rides that line, who can't be questioned, who can't be denied. You can be that person. You can be that upstanding citizen. You know what I'm saying? You can be that. You know what I'm saying? You can switch over from that YN mentality to that quarter zip mentality. You know what I'm saying? We above all that. You know what I'm saying? We really are. And think about that also. That thug mentality that we have adopted, that we have embraced for such a long time. That thug mentality is one of the things that keeps us from achieving, because I'll tell you why. Because it pits us against each other. It pits us against each other. And when we're always mad, when we're always bent up at each other, when we always got our nose, frowned up, when we always screw facing each other, you can't talk, you can't negotiate, you can't exchange ideas and information. You can't do none of that. You cannot grow. So, shout out to those who have recognized that and have decided to turn the corner and say, listen, we can do better than that. We can do better than this standoffish, ultra aggressive, mentality. We can do better than that. We can do way better than that. And these brothers and sisters have proven that we can. We can move right past every expectation that they put on us. And these people have done that. And in my personal belief, we owe it to our ancestors. And I say that a lot. We owe it to but I'm just going to say our parents, our children, the people that come into our future, not our ancestors, the people who come into our future. We owe it to them. We owe it to them. We owe it to our present self. We owe it to ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry about what anybody else has going on. We already have proven to everybody around the world that we are viable. We can make money. We can stack money. We can innovate. We can teach. We can do anything. We can create. We can do anything at the highest levels. We can do that. We just need to become united. And I know I've preached this unity shit a lot, and a lot of people are like, man, fuck that shit. But I'm going to keep preaching it because that is where our power is. Our power is in our unity. And that's why, listen, we all know they spend money to break us up and keep us broke up. If we know that, let's work extra hard to fight against that. Because our wealth lies in our unity. Our independence, our justice, our respect, everything lies within our unity. So this episode, like I said, this is just not about who these billionaire people are. It's about who they are and what they have built and what we can learn from them and who we can possibly be ourselves. What can we pull out of ourselves? You know what I'm saying? What can we pull out of ourselves? All right. Now, the wealthiest black billionaires. All right. And I'm talking about these people are wealthy. Now, there's a guy. He's from Nigeria, and his name is. I hope I'm saying this right. And I got this list, and this comes from Forbes magazine. His name is Aliko Dangote, 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 Aliko Dangote. His net worth. This guy's net worth. And I'll tell you what, it's something, man, it ain't shit. It's formidable. He is worth $23.9 billion. And again, he's from Nigeria. And his industry is manufacturing and energy. Okay? Like, he built Africa's largest industrial conglomerate, the Dangote Group. And his company produces cement and fertilizer, sugar, flour, and all of that is used across Africa. They quote that his biggest gamble was on a $23 billion oil refinery, one of the largest in the world, which dramatically increased his wealth. And currently he is rocking the house with it. You know what I'm saying? He didn't just build a business, though. Like I said, he built a lot of infrastructure. Infrastructure is where real wealth lives. You know what I'm saying? Infrastructure is responsible for so much. If we can control infrastructure, we can control so many different things. You know what I mean? So it really is important for us to realize the importance of infrastructure. And not for nothing, he took a gamble. This guy took a risk. He took a gamble. He was smart. But he took a gamble. And now he is the richest black billionaire. He is a black billionaire. Then there's David Stewart. And David Stewart if you haven't guessed, he is from the United States, and his net worth is between about $11 and $12 billion. And their net worth fluctuates. Every billionaire, their net worth fluctuates a lot because of their holdings in the market. But this guy, he made his money in IT services. This guy co-founded Worldwide Technology, which provides technology infrastructure to major corporations and government agencies. This company generates about $20 billion a year in annual revenue and employs employs thousands of people. Now, technology infrastructure equals long-term wealth, because as we progress into the future, we're just going to need more of that. And if you can get in on the ground floor, which this brother obviously did, if you can get in on the ground floor, then which we are still at, then you have an opportunity to probably generate, a pretty decent living for yourself. Even if you don't reach billionaire status, I'm sure you can fucking come pretty close. Okay, then you have another gentleman, Robert F. Smith, and his net worth is between about $10 and $11 billion, and he again is in the United States. And this is another industry that I think that more of us should look into, which is the private equity sector. Okay, now that has always intrigued me, and I'm going to do some research about it, because I've always been intrigued by these private equity firms, and what do they do, and how do they make their money. Well, this guy created Vista Equity Partners, a firm, and then what they do is they specialize in buying and growing software companies. And that's great. So if you got a software company that's not doing well, maybe this guy comes along and he grabs it up and says, hey, listen, let's take it to the next level. And he's obviously built a very, very lucrative business for himself. Vista manages tens of billions in assets and has become one of the most powerful investment firms in the software industry. Owning company is good, though, but owning company that owns other companies is even better. Okay? Owning a company is good, but owning a company that owns other companies is better. That's a great idea. So that's something else for us to look towards getting involved. Okay, we got our next contender from the United States. His name is Alexander Karp, and his net worth is about $8 to $14 billion. And his industry is data analytics software. Okay, and this guy he co-founded Palantir Technologies, which builds advanced data analysis software that is used by governments and intelligence agencies. And their technology is used by organizations like the FBI and the Department of Defense. And it's great that and I'll tell you what, Palantir, you hear about Palantir a lot, and this guy is responsible for it, but he is, partially responsible. He co-founded it, helped to co-found it, but nevertheless, it was a technology or a service that he filled a gap, and I guess they got it, the ultimate contract, which is the fucking government, and that is how you do it. That is how you do it. And then I want to say this before I move on to the next guy. Remember when the gold rush happened and the oil rush was happening and all that oil, when they struck oil, data is the new oil. Keep that in mind. I'm thinking about that myself. Data is the new oil. What can you do? What can you bring to life? You know what I'm saying? What can you bring to life that can turn the world upside down enough to earn you, $1 billion? Is that what it's about for you? Is this, like I said, this is for all you hustler-minded people. And not for nothing, not people need to be thinking in these directions anyway. These are the sectors of extreme wealth. Extreme wealth. Like I said, this is where our generational wealth lies. We need to figure it out. Okay. Number 5 is Mike Adunga. Adenugha. Adunga. I can't say his last name. Maybe he can call and correct me. I'm sorry, sir, if I'm butchering up your name. It's not my intention. And his location is in Nigeria, and his net worth is about $6.8 billion. Now, his industry is in telecommunications and in oil. And he is the founder of Globacom, which is one of the largest telecommunications companies in Africa. And he also built wealth through oil and exploration companies, which I think that's great. Anything dealing with any kind of exploration, I'm all over it. Where you get to travel and go and try and research and check shit, I'm all about it. The lesson here is communications networks, they create massive wealth. You know what I'm saying? Can you create a cell phone company? Is there anybody? I mean, I'm sure there's somebody here. You know, if one person can do it, I'm sure other people can do it. But are we thinking in these directions? That's where we need to start focusing and applying ourselves. You know, I think that these sectors, I mean, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with the rest of what we do, but like I said, these are the sectors that will help us, like I said, take our respect. It will help us take our respect and show how we get down. You know what I'm saying? Show how we get down. Because there ain't nothing that anybody on this planet can do that we can't. We just have to stop being easily manipulated. And we're easily manipulated. I'm going to take a quick, fast break, and when I come back, we're going to break down some more of these people. All right? This is the Deron Harris Podcast. I'll be right back.
Now, back to the Deron Harris Podcast. Take it, D.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the program. Talking about black billionaires today. How we get our thing on. How we get our bag on. How to build our wealth. How to stack our paper. How to help our community. You know, I'm not saying that we do this. I'm not saying that we stand here waiting for handouts, but we can't wait for them to give us anything. You know what I'm saying? We can't wait for anybody to give us anything because they're never going to come around to it. They're never going to come around to it. Reparations is never going to happen. Okay? There are too many people fighting too hard to stop that from happening. Reparations is never going to be a thing here. So we need to figure out how to make our own reparations. We need to figure out how to excel and then exceed and then override all of what's going on, all of the things that are being done to us. We're powerful people in so many other ways, you know, but and to a degree, we have some financial power, but we are misdirected. We are misguided. We spend our money. We spend, I mean, I think it's, what is it? I forgot, it was $13 trillion or something like that. $1.6 trillion or so, something. I remember I did some research on it before, but we spend more money than everybody. A lot of people spend more money on it than everybody, but we spend it on frivolous bullshit. We spend it on status symbols, not anything that is going to generate any kind of long-term wealth. Maybe a few things, but that's not. We think more about frivolous shit. You know, we spend money on so much frivolous shit. We don't really think in the direction of these other large business conglomerates. Not to say that all of us, because obviously there are some that do, but that number needs to increase. That number needs to increase. Okay, so I'm going to skip down the list a little bit and get to some people that we kind of recognize. All right, guess how much? All right, I'm going to say this next guy. This next guy is from the United States, and he is worth $3.5 to $3.8 billion. His industry is sports and brand licensing. Who is this person? That would be Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is worth $3.5 to $3.8 billion. And he became, not through basketball, but primarily through like his brand partnership with Nike is really kind of what catapulted him to like billionaire status. I mean, Nike generates billions of dollars annually. And I mean, I don't know if anybody has noticed, if you're not looking down at your fucking feet right now, most people, especially any kind of athlete, they got a pair of Jordans on. And that, who do you think? I mean, come on now. Come on now. And your brand, what's your brand? Do you have a brand? I have a brand, okay? My brand is Deron Harris, okay? Michael Jordan took his brand and made it into an empire. And I'm trying to do the same thing with my brand. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. It's one podcast at a time. I got kind of a late start, but here I am, and I'm trying to put my best foot forward, and I'm trying to make a good go of this. You know what I'm saying? I may not ever reach billionaire status, but I want to be able to put my best foot forward, and I want to be able to use my brain and use myself, my brand, to build my empire. You know what I'm saying? I got no problem with that. You know what I'm saying? So, who else do you know on this list? Oh yeah, Oprah Winfrey. Now, Oprah has lost a lot of her popularity. And she really is. She's lost a lot of her support. She, though, however, is worth about $3 billion. Oprah is worth $3 billion, and we all know how she got her money, through media and entertainment. And she built her empire from the Oprah Winfrey Show and later expanded into the O Television Network, and then she produced films and publishing and other investments that she's had. Now, the lesson that you can learn from Oprah is this: you can control your platform and your own narrative. That's what I learned from Oprah. You can control your platform. You can control everything. You can control it. They don't have to control it. Dave Chappelle, I don't think he's a billionaire, but he is another example of being able to control his platform and his own brand, being able to control his narrative, being able to do and speak out and say whatever he wants. You know what I'm saying? Another black billionaire on the list that you may know, his net worth is about $2.5 billion. He's in the United States. His industry is music, alcohol brands, and venture investing. And he has made plenty of anthems that we have bobbed our heads to over the years. And that billionaire would be named Jay-Z. Jay-Z is worth $2.5 billion. And Jay-Z built his wealth beyond music through brands and investments and business partnerships. And the lesson that you can learn from Jay-Z, the lesson here that you learn from Hove, is to diversify your investments. Put a few irons in the fire. You know what I'm saying? If you got multiple ideas, or if you don't really have any ideas, you know what I'm saying? Figure out somebody who does have some good ideas, and make some deals. Piggyback on their success or help their success along, however you're able to do it. You know what I'm saying? Very, very smart. So first, in my opinion, I don't know if he was the first rapper to reach billionaire status, but he was pretty close. Other black billionaires that have crossed this threshold that you may know. Magic Johnson at 1.5 billion, Tyler Perry at 1.4 billion, LeBron James at 1.2 billion, Rihanna at 1.4 billion, and Tiger Woods at 1.1 billion. Okay. Oh yeah, and Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre is a billionaire, 1 billion. Now, all of these fortunes, like all of it, it came from sports and entertainment. It came from media. It came from business ownership and a lot of good things. You know what I'm saying? The big picture here. All right. This is the biggest lesson that I learned that maybe you can learn as well, is look at the pattern. Okay? Look at the patterns. The richest black billionaires are in infrastructure, telecommunications, technology, finance, and ownership. Not just talent, but ownership. Okay? Not just talent. There's other avenues. There's other things. The richest ones of us weren't entertainers or sports stars. You know what I'm saying? They built other things. There are other things that we are capable of. We just got to get out there and do them. Now, how can black communities, all right? How can our community itself build wealth? And this to me was, I felt a lot of motivation here. You know what I'm saying? You know what? I'm going to take a quick break, and when I come back, I'm gonna get into how we can do this, how we can, like, tangible things that we can try and jump into to catapult us forward, to give us a little bit of motivation, to give us a little bit of fortitude, and to help us not quit. All right, I'll be right back.
Now, back to the Deron Harris Podcast. Here's your host, Deron Harris.
Hey, you guys, welcome back. Okay, so I want to try and figure out how our communities can actually build wealth. I wanted to figure that out. So I kind of sat down and kind of jotted a few things down, and this is what I came up with. So the first thing I came up with is we have to prioritize ownership over consumption. Okay? And what I mean by that is we spend, like I just said, we spend trillions of dollars globally. Trillions and trillions of dollars, man. You know what I mean? I mean, we spend money, but wealth comes from owning the companies, okay, that these people or us spend money with. You know what I'm saying? That's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. We go to these companies and we have made them billions. We have made companies and people billionaires because we buy their products, because we spend trillions of dollars. I hope this is making sense. I hope it's making sense. Another way, number two, is we have to figure out a way to get together some of the most wealthy of us, or whoever, to get together and start and try to build different institutions. Now, I know that there's some people out there that are doing this right now, but we need to increase that tenfold. We need people like, we need more black banks. We need more black tech companies, more manufacturing. You know what I mean? More people, like I said, to get involved in infrastructure. Okay? That's how companies, real companies, that's how they create generational wealth for not just, themselves, but the people that work and even the community that they serve. Okay? And then we need to get into cooperative economics. Okay? We need to support business within our communities. Okay? Spend your dollar in your community. It builds wealth. it builds wealth. I mean, wealth. I mean, if we spent our money in our own neighborhoods, the money, I mean, it would strengthen the local economic power. Okay, this area, it would circulate money throughout our communities, and that would build our infrastructure. You would not believe the transformation in our surroundings if we spent our money in our areas. That's what it's for. But instead, we take it across the street, down the road. We give it to Gucci, and we give it to all these other, brands that we have placed our value in, when we have the most valuable brand on the face of the earth. Really? I mean, come on, y'all. I hope I'm making sense. I hope I'm touching somebody. I hope people are still fucking listening to this, please, because this is where we can get ahead. At least get fucking like majorly caught up. So we need to also build our education and wealth building skills. Okay. I used to live in Orlando, and there was a white guy, as a matter of fact. His name was Thomas Bland, and he was ultra rich. He was super rich, and he had not well by these standards. He wasn't a billionaire, but he had quite a few $1 million. He had like upwards of $30 million or something like that. Really nice guy, very particular. He used to come to a restaurant that I managed, and he would come on the weekends for brunch, him and his wife. And every weekend he would come, and he had a different vehicle every weekend. He had a different, like, sometimes he'd pull up in a nice Jeep, and then it would be some crazy fucking sports car, and then he would come in some shit that nobody ever seen before. And, he was just a nice guy, but he was very particular. And he liked me. We had good conversation. And one day I just asked him, I said, "Hey man, what do you do?" He said, "I teach people how to get rich." And that blew my fucking mind. I said, "Really? Like how?" He said, "I have seminars," and he invited me to a couple of seminars. And I went, and I tagged around with him for a little while, and I learned some pretty good things from him. But unfortunately, I had to leave the area. I ended up moving away from Orlando. But I did keep in touch with him for a while, and I have used some of his principles, from time to time, and some of the things to keep me on track as far as things that I invest in, and et cetera, et cetera. But it was very, very, informative to sit there and politic with him about this stuff. So it's not just employment. Okay, it's not just a job that you're doing. It's not just, it is a life that you are building. All right, and that's what you have to have, which leads me to my next point, which is you have to have long-term thinking. Most billionaires, they think in decades. You know what I'm saying? They don't think from paycheck to paycheck. They think, how can in decades? I know I'm gonna have fucking ups and downs from here to there, but they think out in the future. They think of the future, and they know it's gonna take some time to get there. But they're in it for the duration. They're in it for the long haul, and that's what we have to be. There's so many of us that are into some things, and if it gets a little bit hard, we quit, or if it doesn't yield the exact thing that we want it to yield, then we let it go. And that's not the mentality to have. You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in the things that you're selling. You know what I'm saying? The world tells us that wealth is not for us. For years, man, history has tried to block us from owning anything, from owning land, from owning business, from having any kind of institutions. But despite every single obstacle that these people have thrown at us, a small group of black entrepreneurs, they still built billion-dollar empires. And that, to me, I don't know about anybody else, man, but that to me is really, really powerful. It's powerful. Because if they can do it under all of these conditions, under all these circumstances, under all these obstacles that I'm sure, and it's obvious that people throw in there. Imagine what we can do when we start building that together. You know what I'm saying? I hope that people are listening to what I'm saying, man. All right? I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but we need unity. Our unity is where everything for us is. Okay? Everything for us is in our unity, and they know that, and that's why they fight so hard to keep us divided. We have to internalize that. We got to turn that around. You know what I'm saying? We got to normalize. Well, in my opinion, it starts with turning to your fellow man and saying, "Good morning, brother. How you doing today?" As opposed to screw facing this brother. You know what I'm saying? Every single day, treat each other with respect. Go out there, meet each other, shake hands, politic with each other, build with each other. And that right there will take us everywhere. All right? So that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Deron Harris Podcast, y'all. Listen to what I'm saying, man, for real. Listen to what I'm saying. I hope that some of the things that I said, motivated some of you to say, you know what, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do this. I'm going to get up and finish, doing what I'm doing. I'm going to make these beats, or, I'm going to finish these equations, or whatever it is that you do. Whatever it is that you do. Go out there and put your 100% into it. Don't let nobody tell you to stop doing it. They'll keep rocking, because you will be, if you keep rocking, you could be our next black billionaire. Feel me? I want to thank my parents for giving me the mind and the mouth to do this. I want to thank my wife for being my number one fan and hearing all my ranting and raving as I'm creating all of the shit that I create. I want to thank my best friend and producer, Jesse Yandel, for being, super solid every single week. And I want to thank Gentry Thomas for the platform where I deliver my broadcasted signal to y'all. Or what did Morpheus say? Our pirated signal or something like that. And last but not least, man, I want to thank every single person out there listening to the Deron Harris Podcast, man. I thank y'all, man. I do appreciate you. And I hope that I'm giving you guys, good enough content for you to come back and check me out from time to time. So until next week, man. Man, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about next week, but I know it's going to be something wow. I know it's going to be something wow. All right, y'all. I'll talk to y'all next week. Peace.
You've been listening to the Deron Harris Podcast. Subscribe to the show, give a good rating, and everything you need to know is at DeronHarris.com.